What's going on, Grinders? It's your boy Drizzy26 reporting live. Well, not live, but recording live from Florida in a hotel. Sorry, coming late than normal, but always on time as long as it's on a Friday. And we got today, like I said, it's Friday, so FanDuel Friday. It's obviously sponsored by the good folks over at FanDuel. We got my guy here, TJ Zwarych here. Thank you for joining me. Sorry for the delay, but how are you doing today, man?
Doing well, no problem about the delay. Still had a good Friday. Sweating some NBA stuff right now, and it doesn't matter that it's at night because the slate's not till Sunday. As long as this gets out there, like you said, on Friday, so that people can watch it at night or Saturday during the day sometime. We still got them covered. So we got a pretty fun slate for football. I feel like it's going to be more condensed for me maybe than it has been the last few days. A few plays I really like, and if I play one lineup, if I play five lineups, if I play 150, I think I'm going to be keeping it pretty darn tight with especially my quarterback pool this week. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with the same thing. I've been diving in a little bit here and there. This show's gonna really help break down some to find some things that I've been thinking about when it comes to the slate. But my pool last week was really small. Was small. Was smaller than the smallest of the year, and I feel like it's gonna be around the same this week. Um, there's a lot of quarterbacks. Not a lot of quarterbacks I like. Certain ones I do, and certain maybe some I might take some chances on to see. Um, but also we'll see because I do have some opinions on some guys that I think can be in play that I know are not going to be high owned. But I guess we'll just have to see. But yeah, let's start back at quarterback here. So who are you liking here at the top? I know we got like the most popular guy being Justin Herbert. Herbert going against Seattle. Obviously with Seattle defense being bad, and then we have a like pretty much like a three-way split between Burrow, Prescott, and Lamar on FanDuel. What are your thoughts on these guys up top?
So from a cash game perspective, for me, it would be Lamar Jackson by a pretty wide margin. From there, like I think in tournaments, I would be going with about say 50% Lamar Jackson if I was running 150. Like I'd be going with at least half of my lineups would be Lamar lineups because there's a lot of running backs I like, a lot of individual receivers I like this week, but I'm not quite as heavy on specific teams as I have been the past few. And so Lamar Jackson is my favorite QB. It seems like Mark Andrews is going to play, but maybe this will be Isaiah Likely week, like we've been talking about every Friday. Even if Andrews is there, this might finally be the time Likely gets a little bit more run. He's getting Rashad Bateman back, so you can stack. You don't have to stack. You got plenty of options. Lamar Jackson is going to be my main guy, and then from there, where I'm going to look to differentiate next, I think my number 2 QB is going to be Dak Prescott. And then kind of my group of three after that will be Herbert, Mahomes, and Burrow.
Okay, yeah,
And
not
Geno
a bad.
Smith, to be honest.
Well, hey, Geno's been playing well, so I don't blame you for the Geno play. So, I definitely agree with the Lamar Jackson part. I think he's definitely a good quarterback to get to. Justin Herbert probably is my favorite, just because it's going against Seattle. Um, but I do like the other quarterbacks you mentioned. I have a little bit of concern about just Dak coming back. I want to see. I'm gonna have to look at some more film when I get when I get a chance. I want to see how he's been with the grip of the ball and throwing it in practice. He said he's going to play this week because in the dome against Detroit, that's an excellent matchup. Should be, I think, the highest quarterback on this predicted on the slate. But we all understand that he come back from that injury on the thumb, and we probably want to be a little bit precautious and normal on it. Um, but
I'd
quarterback
love
that
to
I
wait and see about the thumb too. Just the thing is that as soon as we get the chance to, he's going to be 8,500, not 7,500.
exactly, and I agree with that. That's why I think I might have to take the chance on it. I don't know if I want. I kind of want him like. To me, honestly, I we know like Lamar and Herbert are top plays, but it's between him and Burrow for me. I like Burrow's matchup against going against Atlanta. I think they lost a corner this week, if I'm correct, from what I saw in the news. And I can see this game obviously being a shootout. We saw what happened when Burrow had to Jamar Chase against our New Orleans Saints. And I can see the same outcome happening again this week, especially with T. Higgins also coming back into the fold a little bit too, which I know will take away from Chase, but I think Chase still has the same upside on any given slate. So I kind of do like going that route, and I think this game will be a fast-paced, up-paced matchup. So I do like that a lot. I love the Geno calls too as well. But another guy that I want to get your take on is this guy Tom Brady. What are we doing with Tom Brady today? Like, do we want to go with him or no? I like that's what my question to myself has been like all week. He's been throwing the ball a lot, 300 yards, a majority of his game, or a couple of his games here, but he has been putting up the touchdowns and that I think regression. I think that might regress a little bit and come eventually and turn around. But what do you think about Tom Brady on this slate?
I think he's willing to get pieces of if you're playing multiple lineups. If I was only playing one, I don't think I'd want it to be a full buck stack against this Panthers team because if I were to guess, it's going to be a big Leonard Fournette day. They don't have Christian McCaffrey anymore. I don't know how they are going to be staying close. You've had a super busy day today. You may have missed Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers, but
Man, I woke up to that news and I was like, what happened while I was sleeping?
I was on. Oh yeah, that was yesterday. That last
Yeah.
night that happened. I was finishing the morning grind for NBA with Stevie, and right as we were logging off, we're playing the morning grind game, and I was like, "Damn, Christian McCaffrey just got traded." But yeah, I think I'd rather, when looking at the Justin Herberts, the Tom Brady's, the Derek Carrs, even Joe Burrow, I think I would just rather play the biggest weapon from that team. Mm-hmm. I would rather play Austin Eckler. I would rather, we're getting Keenan Allen back, and so who knows where these targets are going to be going. I mean, we don't know we're getting Keenan Allen back. He's still questionable, but he's been practicing throughout the week. Palmer's out. And so all of a sudden, if Allen doesn't play, Palmer's out. That would actually make me have some more interest in Justin Herbert because I'm still not worried about this Seattle defense. And I would just look at it and go, hey, okay, well, I know I can stack with Eckler. I can stack with Gerald Everett. I can stack with Mike Williams, of course. And then if I want to get sneaky instead of an expensive guy like Eckler at the running back position, I can throw in somebody like Carter there. So if there are more guys out, that would give me more interest in Herbert's. But even with just Palmer out and Allen in, it still does give you the clear stack. But for me, if I'm doing Herbert, it's a full Charger stack. It's a full Charger stack, running it back with Kenneth Walker and maybe DK Metcalf. But in my cash type scenario, I feel like I want to make it clear that I have a very, very strong lean to Lamar Jackson in cash, even though he's not the highest projected owned right now. And then in tournaments, it's like, I'm okay with Brady. Geno, I like a bit more than Brady. Burrow, I like a bit more than Geno. But then it's Dak, it's Herbert, and it's Mahomes that I like as full stack options if I'm going outside of Lamar.
Okay, I completely understand there. And also, that's the highest game on the slate, too, at 50 points total. And I think that game definitely will reach that goal. There were both teams not playing well defensively right now. Another guy we didn't miss before we move on here and talk about. I'm not playing Derek Carr. Everyone should know how I feel about Derek Carr at this point. I don't think he's a good play. He only has thrown I think still has only thrown 2 touchdowns. Yep, 2 touchdowns is the most touchdowns he's thrown in the past 3 years, if I'm correct. So I can't play a guy that doesn't have the upside for more than that. But Patrick Mahomes, I know it's a tough matchup against San Francisco, but it's still Patrick Mahomes here. What are your thoughts on him, and why are we not, I guess, more trying to go with him in a contrarian move, especially in tournaments?
I like him. He's in my second tier of QBs for tournaments this week. Like you said, it is a tough matchup, but it's still Patrick Mahomes. Exactly like you worded it perfectly. And he's somebody that I'm definitely going to be looking to get to in tournaments this week. Because the other nice thing about Mahomes is outside of Travis Kelce, you can get real cheap when you're stacking with him. Keenan Allen has actually been downgraded to doubtful. which I hadn't realized. So that really does open up this Chargers situation. I'm going to touch back on that more after we talk Chiefs here. But the nice thing about Patrick Mahomes is Juju had a good day last week. He did pretty well, but he's 6,700, which still isn't a lot. But you got Hardman at 57, and Hardman has been having good game after good game after good game these last few. And so he's gone double digits, scoring 2 games in a row, which isn't huge, but when you're 5.7K, it's pretty good. Valdez-Scantling had a bad game last week, but he got a touchdown negated by a penalty, and then another one he had a chance at having in the end zone after that. So I like Mahomes because you can stack him with nice, cheap players. Somebody like Burrow, to be honest with you, like I just don't really know how I feel about T. Higgins and Taj Boyd this week. So that's why I feel like I would just rather play Jamar Chase. But switching it back over to this Chargers situation, they get the great matchup. And now we're looking at Mike Williams up by himself, DeAndre Carter at 5,200, Jason Moore, 4,500 is the next receiver that's supposed to get in the lineup. So I think Gerald Everett is looking like a great tight end play, and you got the clear stacks with him. So weirdly enough, being without weapons kind of makes me like Justin Herbert a little bit more, because not that I think the offense is going to score more points, but it allows me to know what I'm doing with my lineups more. And I still think it will be different enough because not enough people pair their quarterbacks with 3 of their pass catchers, especially when they're not running QBs.
Oh, definitely not. No one does that really, honestly, nowadays. Like that's a full onslaught stack. No one really does that, honestly. But we saw a couple weeks ago, obviously on the other side, that take things down with that Seattle Detroit game. So it's definitely a way to go for sure. Um, let's move on to running backs here. Obviously we talked about the guy that you brought up here from the Chargers, and Austin Eckler going to be one of the more popular guys here on the slate. We getting a guy and Josh Jacobs coming back to the slate after a bye week going against Houston, and Joe Mixon as well being popular in this spot as well. It's around the top 3 most popular guys here. What are some of the running backs that you like on this slate and targeting against some of these teams?
So I like Austin Eckler up top quite a bit. I like Saquon Barkley up top. Derrick Henry up top, I'm pretty good with too. The biggest fade I'm looking to go with this week is going to be Josh Jacobs. We see the 4 or 5 different colors beside his name there. He has a real high projection by his name. He's coming in over 20% owned after back-to-back strong games. This Houston defense is not that bad, and I actually like Houston's defense this week. I like going with Houston's defense this week. And so Jacobs is going to be my bigger fade. And if I'm not paying up to Eckler, I think I like going to this lower 8K range of Leonard Fournette and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to go pretty overlooked on this slate just because he's been hurt. And I think coming back from injury in a good matchup against Tennessee is a very interesting place for him to come back and get cooking and be the Jonathan Taylor we expected him to be this year. The 7 to 8K range is really where I'm going to be hanging out at running back this week. Joe Mixon is another play that a lot of RRG people like this week. I don't mind it. I'm okay with it. He's getting cheaper and cheaper, and he's still getting the usage. But he seems to just get vultured every now and then. He gets taken some pass work away every now and then. He's a good play, but he's not among my favorites. Same with Breece Hall. I like him. I don't love him. Of that group, I like going with Dameon Pierce. I think Dameon Pierce, we're projecting him at 16% ownership right now. I don't think it's going to be quite that high. I like him against the Raiders. He's getting tons of usage. Dameon Pierce, I like quite a bit. And then my favorite running back on the entire slate is going to be Kenneth Walker. To me, he should be 30% owned at that price, not 16. I'm sure we'll see it go up a little bit throughout the week, but maybe not because of all the other strong running backs we've talked about. The Chargers are like a good offense, a good team on paper, but they just can't stop the run. And I really like Kenneth Walker this week. He'll be involved in the pass. He'll be involved in the run. and he's somebody that I'm looking to get to quite a bit this week. If we're looking to get cheap, like Aaron Jones is nice and cheap. Both like the Dallas backs are okay. Both the Green Bay backs, I think are fine. Travis Etienne, I think, is somewhat interesting. And then maybe even, I don't know, is it crazy to take a shot on Chuba Hubbard?
I mean, I guess that Patriots front defense.
The Bucks?
I mean, the
he's
Bucks
4.6K.
I think it's he has to get 10. If he gets 10, you're fine. But like that's still a tough feat to get 10.
I just feel like he could get like 5, 6, 7 receptions in this one, but we don't know about Deontay Foreman too. They're going to be splitting work. So those are both guys that, if I'm being honest, I would make sure I include in near optimal looking lineups if I was running 150. But if I was running just a few lineups, I wouldn't be touching.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you're running 150, I like those calls to 150 if you're running 150 because if they get just 10 points, that's all they need. 10 points and you have the other 2 running back spots or the other running back spot if you're not running 3 to go off, and I think you're in a great spot in tournaments to go up there and go off. I like every guy that you pretty much mentioned there a lot today. I'm really going to be probably heavy on a guy like Jonathan Taylor. 8K is too cheap for the guy with his upside. I think he's going to be fully healthy in his backfield and just get the full workload. So I love the play. Kenneth Walker, like you mentioned before, he should be higher than what he is. 7.3 is not enough. So I'm going to be well over the field on Kenneth Walker today. I think he's a fantastic play against this Chargers team who just keeps losing guys on their defensive front. It's just every game someone else is going down, it seems like. So until they get healthy and show that they can stop the run, I'm going to play running backs against them a little bit. I do also like going with the guy like Dameon Pierce, like you mentioned before. He's a fantastic play. Bell cow work, a bell cow running back getting all the work. I think also one guy you didn't mention that I do like a lot is Zeke, 6.9K. If you want to get off the Dak chalk, like I think he's a fantastic play to get some exposure in that game. I think that he's going to be obviously low owned, and if he gets a full workload, we saw what all these running backs have been doing to Detroit. Zeke could easily do the same in this game and look like the old Zeke, so and have like 3 touchdowns and 100+ yards. So I like Zeke a lot in tournaments. Probably he's my favorite of all of them. My favorite running back on this slate too, tournament wise. Brees Hall is also good, obviously as well. I like Joe Mixon. Travis Etienne, I think he needs to start being mentioned in this conversation a little bit as he's been getting a little bit more work over the weeks, over the past few weeks. Obviously, only 10 attempts, but the 86 yards stand out. He's just an explosive back. Similarly showing more explosiveness right now than Robinson. So I think he's worth taking a shot on because once he really goes off and has a monster game, his price is going to go up and everyone's going to be on him. So I think this could be a week where you can go with him a little bit and get different. I do also don't mind Swift when he coming. I don't mind taking a shot on Swift a little bit, but not going to be someone I'm highly on. I do like Saquon a lot, like you mentioned before, going up top, and Austin Eckler. So pretty much we like the same guys. But my favorite, like I said, my favorite overall tournament play for running back position is going to be Zeke.
I don't mind Zeke as
leverage.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I don't mind Zeke at all. I briefly touched on it, just kind of both Dallas backs, even taking a shot on Tony Pollard as well. But based on Pollard's price this week, with it being so close to Zeke, I think I would rather just pay up a little bit extra to Zeke. If I was running 150, I think that'd be the only reason I'd include Pollard in there as well. I'm just never going to let you stop talking to me because when we started this show, I was complaining right before we started, I was complaining about Tyrese Halliburton with like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He had like 28 fantasy points and he finished the game with like 47 or something like that. So you seem to be my good luck charm. Let's keep this going forever. We'll take it over to
let's
receiver.
go.
But we'll take it over to receiver. But like we talked about cash a little bit. I like touching on it a small amount. For me, Lamar Jackson is my first player I'm plugging into cash games. Kenneth Walker is the second player I'm plugging into cash games. And the third is I'm going to make sure I have either Mike Williams or Austin Eckler. Likely Mike Williams just because of Austin Eckler's price. And then CeeDee Lamb is going to be the next guy in there for me as well. So it's going to be like looking Lamar Jackson, Kenneth Walker, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams. That's going to be where I would be starting my personal cash games this week.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all for sure. It's gonna be tough because I want to see. I really honestly, I want to play a lot of Devontae Adams. Like I really do, but we know he's gonna like 7 targets last game. I would expect him to still get these like 10 to 15 targets or that he was getting at the beginning of the game. But I know KC try to play him pretty well, but they have not been able to stop him. So I kind of want to spend like up on him a little bit, but I don't know how much I'm going to really get to him honestly because I do want to get, like you said, CD have a lot. And then I also want to get Amon-Ra St. Brown a heck of a lot. Like, I'm going to be so far over the field on this guy right here in this game. It's going to be ridiculous. Like, I don't care. We got Swift coming back, but this is the guy that, to me, is the important guy right here. They play a lot. I think the Cowboys play a lot of like that. They play a little bit. They play some man, but they play a lot of like the zone coverage. I think Amon-Ra can get in the gaps of and the seams to take advantage of and catch those balls from Jared Goff. Um, and if Jared Goff is on his game and throwing it on point, St. Brown could be in store for a big game here, even though being covered by Diggs. Like that matchup doesn't even scare me at all in the slightest. So I think Amon-Ra is someone that's high on my list as well as at the low ownership he's at. And obviously I mentioned before, Jamar Chase, and along with T. Higgins, those guys I really do like a lot today. And don't want to also forget about Michael Pittman.
Yep. I like all of those guys that you mentioned. DK Metcalf is another one that I'm very fond of today. I really like the idea of trying to make as many Lamar Jackson teams as possible with mini stacks of that Chargers and Seahawks game. And just kind of think that like maybe Lamar rushes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that Seahawks Chargers game is the highest scoring game on the slate. So the two games I want to do that with are Detroit Dallas and Chargers Seahawks. Those are the two that I really want to try and zero in on. Now, most other people are as well, but I want to actually do game stacks, but with Lamar Jackson. So Eckler with Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf. Walker with Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, stuff like that. Two V1s, 2-2 stacks with my running quarterback Lamar Jackson, and then the same type of thing with that Detroit game. Get my Amon-Ra St. Brown with Ezekiel Elliott and CeeDee Lamb, both of them. If we think Dallas is going to be the highest scoring team on the slate, which Vegas does alongside the Chargers, the two teams we're talking about, run CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott together. They can both have 100 yards plus a touchdown or two, and then run it back with Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of thinking that either it's a high scoring close game, and both of those in that situation goes off, or two, it's a game where the Cowboys blow them out. They put up 30 points in the first 3 quarters, and Detroit is passing a lot throughout the entire game, so St. Brown's getting a ton of targets. So those are the two games I like going game stacks with the most. You can do it with the quarterbacks. I'm all good playing the quarterbacks, but I would rather do it with Lamar Jackson at the end of the day. I like a little Mike Evans. I like a little Chris Godwin. I'd rather just play Mike Evans with Lamar Jackson as opposed to doing a Tom Brady stack. But if I play Tom Brady, it's with Evans, it's with Godwin, and it's with Auden. If I'm playing Herbert, it's with 3 guys. I'm looking at these cheap Chargers guys that we talked about, and I'm looking to play with them with Herbert. So that's kind of how I'm looking at everything. The last guy I want to talk about who is not picking up very much ownership today, I think this weekend he's in a great spot. He went off last week, and so I thought he'd get a little bit more traction, and that's Brandon Ayuk. He's always been a guy that Garoppolo loves. There's a good chance they could be down in this game and having to throw quite a bit. They did just get Christian McCaffrey, but he might not be fully integrated yet, and that could lead to a better running game and a better play action usage in that running game. So I think Ayuk and Debo are both interesting, but the fact that Debo is picking up double the ownership and is in a price tier right between CeeDee Lamb and Jamar and Mike Williams, two guys that I like better, a little more expensive than Amon-Ra St. Brown, someone I like better, quite a bit more expensive than DK Metcalf, who I like a lot better. I would just rather go to down to Brandon Ayuk here, or even take a shot on what will likely be a very low owned George Kittle, since this is probably just like the best tight end week we've had all season.
I can see that too for sure. I'll talk about tight ends when we get there, because best tight end week I think we had that a couple of weeks ago. But I do also like piggyback on some of the guys that you like. I do like the Ayuk play. I just don't know how strong of a play it's going to be. Just for the simple fact, like you said, of Christian McCaffrey going to be there, but he can't go off anytime. He's a very talented receiver, and I love the call, especially in a high scoring game. Well, potentially going to be a high scoring game between Kansas City and San Francisco. I also do like a lot. That's going to be low owned is this guy right here, Terry McLaurin. He's getting his best buddy back, his best friend Tyler Heineke, I think, right, is his name.
That's a great call, actually.
He's getting his old friend back to play quarterback, and we know that them two definitely have a connection together. So I expect the targets to go up a lot more for Terry McLaurin, and him to show why he is the best receiver on his team. Going against Green Bay, he's going to be low owned. I'm going to be well over the field on him. I think he has a chance to go off and have a monster game here in that spot. So Terry McLaurin, I think it's a good play that I'm going to try to be all over. And I do kind of, like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster is another guy I do like at the slower range, getting to him a little bit. I like Michael Gallup coming back against in the Dallas game, who's only getting 7% ownership. So if you're doing like a Dak Prescott stack, you could go with like Zeke, Gallup. You could go with even a double stack with CeeDee Lamb and Gallup, and it's still going to be completely low owned. And he's only got 7 targets, so the targets have gone up every single week he's been in the game. So he's just getting more healthier and healthier, and I think that just shows up a good signs for him. And I think he can go off and have a big game this week against Detroit, especially at low ownership. I don't want to forget to talk about that as well. But I think that's really all I have at this position. I think I mentioned Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's a fantastic player as well. I like all the Cincinnati receivers as well. The Seattle receivers, isn't Tyler Lockett a downgrade because of his hamstring, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
So DK Metcalf is the one that I want to be all over in tournaments today.
Yep, 100%. I'm with you as well. That's why I don't think I'm actually going to get to a ton of Geno Smith. I'd just rather play Metcalf and Walker together, and then run it back with some Chargers. I don't mind the Gallup call. For me, that's something I would only be doing with Dak Prescott, though. He's priced up a little too much for me to want to play him on his own, and I do just like CeeDee Lamb quite a bit more. But there's a lot of good receivers we like. I think most of our stands we're taking are kind of more at the running back position, and then receivers we like a few of the chalky ones, and then we each have a few sneaky ones we like as well. What do you like at the tight end position this week? Because it might actually be a little sneaky to go with Mark Andrews, who barely practiced this week, and Travis Kelce, who's in a tough matchup. Both are priced up, and we just have a bevy of cheap tight ends this week. Like, This is funny. This is why it doesn't ever matter who hosts this show, because it's just whoever is last on the position always just transitions us to the next one.
Exactly.
But we got Kate Otten. We got Foster Moreau. We have maybe these Baltimore guys, Josh Oliver and Isaiah Likely, if Mark Andrews ends up being limited. Just so many where is our guy Greg Dulcich here after he had a good first week? 4K? Are you kidding me? Greg Dulcich is 4K? Like, I feel like that's got to be your cash game option against the Jets there, and then you can look at what you want to do after that. But I feel like Andrews and Kelsey, they're going to be your strongest tournament options, because you got all of these cheap, talented backups who are now getting thrust into a starting position.
Yeah, tight end has become more like defense this year, or if that's a correct analogy for it, just because you don't know what you're going to get out of each one of these guys every single week, except for like a guy like Kelsey or Andrews, for the most part, and for a majority of the games throughout the season. So obviously, those two guys, they obviously have the highest upside on the slate. I will try to be getting to as much as I possibly can, but I do like Gerald Everett in this spot. I think you talked about him before. He's in a great spot here, and George Kittle's another good tight end on the opposite end of that game. That he just needs to just get the targets and have a couple catches and a couple touchdowns, and he's off to having a big game here. So then you got TJ Hawkins who's in a great spot against Dallas. I like Robert Tonyan a lot against Washington. So it's a number of different guys you can go with, and that's not even getting into Kate Otten, who's at 4.9K going against Carolina, could easily have a couple touchdowns, as because we know Tom Brady loves his tight ends. And then you mentioned Greg Dulcich for Denver going against the Jets too. So there's a number of different guys I like, and I like I said, I think my favorite like tournament wise is going to be. It's probably going to be, if I have to rank it, it's going to be one is going to be Cade Otten, then Gerald Everett, and then the last one, I'm just gonna say Isaiah Likely, because I know that he's been seeing a lot more work. So I'm gonna use him as my third like deep tournament GPP play. But other than that, like obviously we know who the main usual suspects are. If it's not those guys or some of these other mid range guys, I want to go with the guy like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelsey here. What about yourself?
Yep, I think that makes sense. Andrews and Kelsey are kind of my top looks for tournaments. If I'm playing lots of lineups, Kittle and Everett are two players that I'd want to get double the field on, just because I think even though they're not going to project as the top plays, they just have super high upside this week. And then of the cheapies, I think Dulcich would be my favorite. Otten would be my second favorite. And then I would still be willing to take a shot. Moreau would be my third favorite. And then I'd still be willing to take a shot on Isaiah Likely. And if we find out that Andrews is for some reason out or limited, then Likely would be my favorite if Andrews were out. And if we find out Andrews is somewhat limited, then Likely would boost up closer to the guys like Dulcich and Otten and Moreau.
Yeah, I definitely could agree with that for sure. So, I have nothing else here at tight end. What do you have any of these defensive that you want to give out that you like today for this week?
So yeah, we'll talk defense quick, and I honestly don't want to talk much about it just because it is truthfully so random, and it's just feels like it's even been more so this year. I did see some kind of graph that like this year people have been worse at predicting what defenses are going to be successful than they have been in the past few years. And so like the Bucks seem like they are in a perfect nut position, but do you want to spend a max salary defense at almost 20% ownership? No, probably not. So the other teams I'm looking at are kind of my favorite in a vacuum will probably be the Jets. They're a strong defense going up against Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, who are just giving up so many sacks right now. And so I like them because they're saving a little bit of salary there over the teams like the Broncos and the Cowboys up top. Then if I'm not spending up for a team like the Jets, I think I would rather look at going all the way down at teams like the Bengals as well as the Houston Texans. Those are going to be the teams that I'm kind of looking at the bottom, as well as maybe even the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't mind those calls at all for sure. The Kansas City Chiefs one, they do have a good defensive line, so I love that call. That's a really, really, really sneaky one, I think. I love all the guys, all the teams you mentioned as far as defensively. But the one I really do like is sneaky in my opinion is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm continuing to be high on this young defense here that they have. And I know it's the Giants and they've been playing well lately, but that ship is going to come to an end sooner or later, and they're going to come back down to earth. Sorry, New York fans. Just got to be real about it here. So, but I do like Jacksonville Jaguars to get to Daniel Jones a little bit here in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get a pick six against him. So, yeah, that I love a lot. And Cowboys coming at that like 2% ownership, I'm just really surprised at that because they can. If they really play like how they played against the Eagles in the first half of the game, they can. The second half, I should say. Sorry, where they played really well and good defense, and they can easily have a good game here, and get a couple takeaways against Jared Goff. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
Cash games, like I think there's. And like small field stuff, I think there's warrant to just biting the bullet and going with the Buccaneers, because that way, if they break the slate, you don't lose. And if they fail, whatever, they were majorly owned anyways, you're not going to die because of that. But in tournaments, I would just way rather go right underneath to the Dallas Cowboys, who maybe will give up some big plays, but they're also going to score some points on defense, get some sacks, get some picks. So that's the team I'd want to pivot to for tournaments. Even the Broncos, I'd be very happy with that pivot as well. Jags have burned me the last couple weeks, and so that's a team I'd only touch if I was in 150, but I totally understand it. Any hot takes for the week? For me, I think it's going to be, my big hot take is a game stack will get first place, but the quarterback will not be in that game stack. So either Detroit and Dallas, or the Chargers and Seattle. A game stack of that game will win first, but it's going to be with Lamar Jackson as the quarterback.
All right, my hot take of the week is going to be, I think Ezekiel Elliott and St. Brown is going to be the correlation in the winning lineup today. On Sunday for this NFL slate here. So is there anything else you got before we get out of here?
That's it. Let's get out of here. I got some NBA lineups to get excited about, and I got Black Adam to go watch tonight.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that tonight. And yeah, I'm gonna go see Black Adam tomorrow, so we'll definitely catch up and talk about that soon. And also go check out TJ's other site, Agents of FanDuel, the podcast. Go check those guys out. They're really good over there, and it's a good listen, and a good read for sure. Where also can they find you, TJ?
TJ_Zwarych 5 on all the socials, and then my other stuff, agentsoffandom.com as well, like you mentioned. Make sure you're checking out all the RG content. Dre's on shows Sunday. I'll be on shows Sunday. And we got great people doing basketball as well. I'm looking at this big FanDuel tournament right now, and I got a few lineups I'm sweating, and I looked at the all instead of my entries, and who's in first place as we speak? It's by 10 points. Squirrel Patrol with 15 points projected higher of a lineup than anybody else. So hopefully that stands. Maybe I can take him out of there. Or maybe I can hold on to second or third, something like that. But we'll see. It's football time. If it doesn't happen, we will run it right back for that sport as well.
Yes, definitely for sure. And good luck, and hope you take it down. I'm not coming second for sure against Squirrel. Let's keep RG at the top here today. So, good night, everyone, and have a good one.